This is the story of a precision strike, where every move is calculated, every second counts, and the ultimate victory hinges on a single, unexpected revelation. The rotors are already loud enough to wake the garrison when the first Osprey crosses the seawall on March 17, 2026. 6 MV-22s sweep in at 60 meters, spread across a 400-meter front. They fly so low that the lead aircraft's downdraft kicks spray off the flat sea surface before it even clears the island's outer perimeter. This is Larak Island, an Iranian communications facility that has been jamming coalition navigation frequencies for 11 days. It is bristling with antenna arrays, hardened switching rooms, and now, at 5:02 a.m. floodlights blaze to life across the entire compound. Colonel Naseri has been awake for 2 hours. His defenders reach their positions before the first Osprey crosses the outer wall. There is no scrambling, they are already there, weapons up. This is the unhurried readiness of a garrison commander who spent the previous Tuesday repositioning every firing post, meticulously anticipating what a vertical assault would demand. The northwestern rooftop emplacement opens fire from 500 meters with a heavy weapon. The lead pilot, without a word, breaks right, executing a sharp banking maneuver that drops the aircraft 9 meters and compresses every Marine inside against their harnesses. The Osprey levels out 90 meters east of its intended approach path and holds its speed, still bearing toward the island. Above the formation, the lead AH-1Z Viper finds the northwestern emplacement in 2 seconds, silencing it with a 20 mm burst. The weapon goes quiet. The helicopter swings north before the Echo even crosses the water, already hunting for the next target. Gunnery Sergeant Reyes hits the fast rope at 5:04 a.m., descending 5 meters in 4 seconds. The rooftop arrives hard under her boots, and she is moving before the impact is fully absorbed, weapon up, scanning behind the nearest antenna housing. 4 Marines land within 9 meters in the next 8 seconds. No commands are required, they have done this 40 times in rehearsal. But this 40th time feels like the first one that truly matters. From the main building's second floor, 3 windows open simultaneously. The Vipers make another pass, lower this time, nose down, their cannon walking a line across the building's eastern face, persuading every window to close. Reyes uses these 3 seconds of suppression to push her team toward the rooftop access door, steel reinforced, locked from the inside. Behind it, the sound of boots on metal stairs indicates a position being reinforced, voices in Farsi giving instructions she doesn't need to understand to interpret the threat. First Sergeant Luis Mendez's element reaches the outer wall's eastern section at 5:06 a.m. 4 Marines on fast ropes, the secondary breach team. His assignment is the service entrance on the building's southern face. He moves along the wall's inner edge, keeping the main structure between his team and the second-floor windows, reading the compound's geometry exactly as the rehearsal photographs taught him. Behind both assault elements, 2 CH-53E Super Stallions approach from the north, carrying the heavy element, 31 Marines, the breaching equipment for hardened doors, the gear that the fast rope teams cannot carry. At 5:07 a.m. 6 drones lift from camouflage positions on the island's eastern shore. These are not military grade, they are GPS-guided commercial frames modified for payload, precisely the kind of asymmetric countermeasure that costs $50,000 to field against aircraft worth $30 million. They climb fast, orient on the inbound Super Stallions, and accelerate. The Vipers are already turning. 3 drones disintegrate in the first gun burst. A 4th intersects the second Viper's fire. The 5th breaks north and runs into a wall of 20 mm rounds that the gunship places directly in its path. The 6th jinks south, low and fast, threading the gap between the 2 helicopters, finding the trailing CH-53ES tail section before anyone can get a clean intercept angle. The impact is not catastrophic, but it is enough. The Super Stallion yaws hard right, its tail rotor compromised, the aircraft rotating through 40 degrees before the pilot arrests it with collective input and sheer mechanical stubbornness. Partial control, reduced effectiveness. The helicopter is still flying, barely, angrily. The crew works every system simultaneously, but the assault approach is finished. The pilot pushes north, transmitting status, clearing the island with 31 Marines still aboard and the breaching equipment still in its cases. On the rooftop, Reyes looks at the access door, then at her remaining kit, standard breaching charges, enough for one attempt. Naseri's voice reaches his inner ring defenders at 5:09 a.m. For sentences, specific and unhurried, directing his remaining 28 soldiers into the hardened communications building. Secondary positions are abandoned, the perimeter pulled inward, everything concentrated around the switching room in the basement, the one room that cannot be taken without the equipment currently flying north on a damaged helicopter. He is not calm because the situation is under control, he is calm because he has already identified the one variable that makes the situation survivable. Reyes sets the charge on the rooftop door. The door goes inward at 5:11 a.m., but not cleanly. The frame warps rather than releasing, the charge burning through the lock mechanism and leaving the hinges intact, so the steel panel folds rather than falls. Reyes goes through the gap low and fast, Ochoa behind her, the team stacking into the stairwell landing before the smoke clears the doorframe. 2 flights down, the main corridor runs east-west through the building's spine. Fluorescent lights, tiled floor, and at the corridor's far end, close enough to hear individual voices, Naseri's inner ring soldiers hold the passage to the switching room. Neither side moves. The corridor is 18 meters of open tile, with equipment racks on both sides and nothing in between that stops a bullet. Whoever moves first loses. The Marines know it, the defenders know it. For 40 seconds, both sides hold their positions, thinking about the same geometry from opposite directions. Mendez solves it from below. His team reached the service corridor 3 minutes ago, a parallel passage running the building's length 1 floor down, narrower than the main hallway, smelling of electrical equipment and years of accumulated heat. He moves his 4 Marines through its single file, navigating by the hand-drawn map included in the reconnaissance package, which he memorized in the aircraft. The secondary entrance to the switching room is at the passage's eastern end. It was unlocked in the reconnaissance photographs taken 6 weeks ago, and it is still unlocked. Mendez holds his team at the door and keys his radio twice, the signal Reyes is waiting for. She goes north at the same moment he goes east. The defenders, positioned to hold the corridor approach, face a problem their positioning cannot solve, 2 points of entry into the same room simultaneously. They make the only rational choice, which is to fall back into the switching room itself and seal the interior door. It's a steel panel with a hydraulic lock, the kind of door that requires the equipment currently aboard a damaged helicopter 5 kilometers north. 8 soldiers, with Naseri's voice on their radio, are ordered to hold the room. The door locks at 5:18 a.m. Reyes stands outside it, looking through the reinforced window at everything. The mission was for the antenna switching arrays, the jamming transmitters. 11 days of interference with coalition navigation, all concentrated in a room she cannot see and cannot enter. She tries the secondary breach kit, but it is insufficient. The hydraulic door was not in the rehearsal package because the rehearsal package was built on 6-week-old reconnaissance. She calls it up, requesting options. Corporal James Ochoa doesn't wait for the answer. He is already moving toward the antenna field outside the building, across the compound, to the transmission hardware that feeds the switching room's output into the air. Physical cables, 4 of them, run in conduit along the antenna base. He cuts the first one at 5:19 a.m. with bolt cutters from his kit. Then the second. The jamming signal doesn't fade, it stops, mid-transmission, the way a voice stops when someone covers a mouth. Coalition navigation frequencies come back online in sequence. The corridor the mission was designed to reopen is open. Mendez crouches outside the locked door. Inside, he can hear a shift in Naseri's voice, not panic, but something recalibrating. The colonel understands what the silence in his equipment means. He transmits his position and status to Revolutionary Guard Naval Command, 8 personnel, hardened room, supplies for 72 hours, coordinates precise. His voice carries no urgency because urgency is not what the transmission requires, what it requires is accuracy. The Vipers pick up surface contacts at 5:26 a.m. 5 fast attack craft emerging from the northeast, spread wide, their approach geometry covering every side of the island simultaneously. This is not a relief force, it is a siege force. The difference matters. A relief force tries to reach Naseri, which puts it in range of the Vipers. A siege force simply surrounds the island and waits for the Vipers to run out of fuel. The lead gunship checks its fuel state, 24 minutes of loiter time. The replacement section from the main fleet is 20 minutes out. That leaves 4 minutes of uncovered airspace. The attack craft know this number. Someone on one of those vessels has been tracking the Vipers' patrol pattern, calculating their consumption rate, and the approach timing is no coincidence. At 5:28 a.m., the damaged CH-53E calls in from 5 kilometers north. The pilot's voice is steady. Tail rotor is partially compromised, directional control reduced but stable. He can hold altitude, but he cannot execute an assault approach. What he can do, what his crew chief is already rigging, is a static hover for 5 meters above the island's northern shore, low enough that 31 Marines and their equipment can drop to the rocks below without fast ropes. It will take 8 minutes to reach position. The math for the mission has suddenly changed. The CH-53E arrives at 5:31 a.m., its damaged tail rotor audible from the southern wall, an irregular harmonic beneath the normal rotor noise, the sound of machinery working past its design parameters on nothing but crew determination. It comes in from the north at 12 meters, slower than it should be, the pilot holding the hover with inputs so constantly precise they appear effortless from below. They are not effortless. The first Marines drop from the starboard door at 5:32 a.m., no fast ropes, just a 1.5-meter drop onto the island's northern rock shelf. They absorb the landing and move immediately to clear the landing zone for the next man. Ochoa's team on the northern wall provides cover. The heavy element emerges in pairs, 2 by 2, then 2 again, the breaching equipment handed down in cases. The hydraulic door kit that the mission needed 40 minutes ago is now finally on the island's surface. 19 Marines are down when the lead attack craft reaches the eastern shelf. The vessel doesn't stop at the water's edge. It runs its bow directly onto the rock shelf, grinding hull against stone. The boarding element comes over the rail before the scraping stops, 8 figures in assault gear moving fast toward the outer wall's eastern face. The deck gun traverses toward the CH-53E above the northern shore. The second Viper, fuel state critical, makes its final pass. One burst, and the deck gun position goes quiet. The helicopter peels away northeast, transmitting its bingo state, done for this engagement. The replacement section from the main fleet is now 11 minutes out. The island's airspace belongs to whoever is patient enough to wait 11 minutes. The boarding element reaches the outer wall. Reyes pulls her northern face Marines south to cover the breach point, leaving the antenna field held by Ochoa's team alone. It is the only move available, she cannot cover both simultaneously with what she has. Ochoa understands what the redeployment means without being told. His 4 Marines tighten their perimeter around the cut cables and hold. Inside the building, Mendez hears the activity outside and makes a calculation. The hydraulic breaching kit is assembled. It will open the switching room door in 90 seconds of operation. What it cannot do is operate quietly. The pump is loud, directional, and will tell everyone inside the room exactly what is happening to their door for 90 seconds before it opens. He looks at the kit, looks at the door, thinks about the 8 soldiers on the other side, and the decision they will face when the pump starts. He starts the pump. Inside the switching room, Naseri hears it immediately. For the first time in this operation, his voice on the radio changes, not panic, but the compressed urgency of a man revising his timeline. He has been describing a siege, the pump outside his door is describing something else. He transmits a single update to the attack craft outside: accelerate. CENTCOM releases its statement at 5:36 a.m. The 22nd MIU has disabled Iranian communications infrastructure at the Strait of Hormuz. Operations are ongoing. The jamming has been down for 17 minutes. The coalition navigation corridors function commercially, operationally, strategically. The mission's stated objective is complete. On the island, the breaching pump has 60 seconds remaining. The boarding element outside the eastern wall has found the low point, a section where bomb damage from a previous engagement left the stonework uneven, climbable, 1 meter shorter than the surrounding structure. 2 figures are already scaling it. A third provides covering fire from the shelf below. The replacement Viper section is 8 minutes out. Mendez watches the hydraulic gauge climb toward operating pressure and does not think about 8 minutes, or 60 seconds, or the attack craft on the eastern wall. He thinks about the door in front of him, the room behind it, and the single question that the pump's countdown is turning from tactical to immediate. When this door opens, what happens next is not decided by anyone's plan. It's decided by 8 people in a room who have been listening to machinery dismantle their last position for the past 30 seconds. The pump reaches pressure. Outside, the main fleet cuts its searchlights on at maximum range, visible from the island's southern wall, a gray hull pushing a white bow wave, still distant but no longer abstract. The attack craft on the eastern shelf see it, too. The vessel that ran its bow onto the rock shelf begins reversing, hull scraping back off the stone, its boarding element pausing mid-climb. Naseri's voice comes through the door, not through the radio, but through the door itself, directed at Mendez's side, at the Marines outside. 3 sentences in careful English that he has been constructing for the last 2 minutes while the pump ran. The hydraulic gauge touches operating pressure. The door does not open.